I want to touch up on this one again. I got like a wave of stupidity just went over my head when I was going over this one. And it says x is greater than 1. Like I should have immediately just done this. And the easiest thing I should have done to a kid is literally just plug in numbers. Why I wasn't doing that, I don't know. But what's a possible value of y? Now, I guess the first two could be possible answers, but algebraically, what you would do, like if you wanted to use algebra, if you wanted to use algebra, you'd take these y values and you'd set it equal to this. Say 0 equals x over x minus 1. And what you would do is you'd multiply both sides by x minus 1. Apparently I'm not plugged in yet. Give me just a second. You'd multiply both sides by x minus 1 to get your cancellation. And you'd have 0 is x, which is not possible because x has to be bigger than 1. And then maybe you plug in like 0.9. 0.9 equals x over x minus 1. And it's the same algebraic technique. You x minus 1 both sides. You get 9/10 of x minus 9/10 equal to x. X is on one side. Negative 9/10 is equal to 0.1x. You divide out the 0.1, and you would get y equals negative 1, right? Negative 9, which is, or sorry, x equals negative 9, which is not possible. So here by elimination, we're probably down to the last one, but same idea. This is a y value, 1.9 equal to x over x minus 1. We x minus 1 both sides. Cancellation, distributive property. 1.9x minus 1.9 equals x. I'm going to shift that here. I'm going to shift that there. It's kind of interesting what comes up here. That is kind of interesting what's happening here. What's happening here is we're getting 1.9 equal to, oh, this is fine, isn't it? Equal to 9/10 of x. Again, I'm still pretty tired. Divide through by the 9/10, and you get an x value that's reasonable. 1.9 divided by 0.9 says x is about 2. X is 2 1/9, which is fine because x had to be greater than 1. And again, I'm sorry if me looking at a calculator threw you off. I had something in my head that I thought would help, but it didn't. Sometimes choices backfire. Anyways, where are we at? 32. 4 identical glasses are shown below. One glass is empty, and the other 3 glasses are a quarter full, half full, and 4/5 full, respectively. If the water were redistributed equally among the 4 glasses, what fractional part of each glass would be filled? All we're going to do is we're going to find the average. We're just going to find the average of the 4 numbers. So we're going to take one of them's empty, 0, plus a quarter, plus a half, plus 4/5. And we'll add all that together. Since there's 4 things, we're going to divide by 4. And I don't even feel like working that out with you. I mean, you're not going to do that on the ACT. So we got a quarter. We got a half. We got a 4/5, oops, plus. Press that magic enter key, divide by 4 because there's 4 of them. And then back as a fraction, 31, kind of small on mine, but 31/80. Right there. Aurelio is purchasing carpet tiles to cover an area of his living room floor that is 8 1/3 feet wide by 10 feet long. Each carpet tile is a square 20 by 20. What is the minimum number of carpet tiles that Aurelio must purchase to cover this area of his living room? Of course, now the first big thing is to compare. Units must be the same. Otherwise, you can't really compare. But I know there's 12 inches in a foot. So I'm going to take my 8 1/3. I'm going to multiply it by 12. And I have 100 inches here, and that's 120. So this ends up being 100 inches, and that's 10 times 12, 120. So the area of the floor is 100 inches times 120 inches, which, boy, I'm tired. I think that's right. Like I said, tired. There we go, 12,000. That's what I wrote, good. And each tile is 20 by 20. Which is 400 square inches. Now, how many do I need? I need 12,000 divided by 400, which I sure hope is 300, or I just go home for the day. Nope, 30. Good Lord, I should go home for the day. Something wrong with me today. And it's 30. All right, 34. In the standard XY coordinate plane, a circle with its center at 8, 5 and radius 9 coordinate units has which of the following equations? This is a straight up, did you bother to memorize the standard form of a circle? The standard form of a circle is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equal to r squared. If you're thinking, man, that looks a lot like Pythagorean theorem, that's because it is Pythagorean theorem. Anyways, your center is at hk, and r stands for radius. That's all there is to it. So this thing is at 8, 5 for h and k. It's just x minus 8 quantity squared plus y minus h, y minus 5 quantity squared. And you know, if you're one of my kids, I don't know how many times I've told you this, but when numbers enter parentheses, signs change. So let's just keep that in mind. The sign has to change. These were positive. Gone, gone. That one makes no sense. That's mixing y's and x's. X is 8. Should be there with x. So these are the only two things that remain. They're the only two logical thing to use. Anyways, the radius is 9, so this has to equal a 9 that is squared. So there you go. Choice G. Oops, sorry, not choice G. Choice F is the only logical answer. All right, many humans carry the gene YQ77. The YQ, I have no idea what it does. The YQ test with 100% determines with 100% accuracy whether a human contains it or not. If a YQ test is positive, the human carries the YQ77 gene. If a YQ test result is negative, the human does not carry the YQ77 gene. Sam designed a less expensive test for YQ77 called the SAM77 test. It produces some incorrect results. To determine the accuracy of the SAM77 test, both tests were administered to 1,000 volunteers. The results from the administration are summarized in the table below. So this was given to 1,000 people. It cost $2,500 to administer each YQ test and $50 to administer each SAM77 test. What was the total cost to administer both tests to all volunteers? All right, so what we're looking at is both tests together. Be 2,500 plus 50, so 2,550. The text says 1,000 volunteers. A lot of volunteers. Now, I'm not going to do any pushing buttons on a calculator here, but it's got to be that one. See the 255, 255? That's what it's got to be. What percent of the volunteers actually carry YQ77? All right, well, that's going to be where we take this positive table and we add it together. 590 and 25, if you sum them, is 615. So I see 615 out of 1,000 right there, 61.5%. How many volunteers did the SAM77 test give an incorrect result? He was incorrect here and here, because there is where that test, which has 100% accuracy, Sam's test was negative. And this test, which has 100% accuracy, Sam's test said was positive. So there's 35 people total. See, one of the volunteers whose SAM77 test result was positive will be chosen at random. To the nearest thousandth, what is the probability the chosen volunteer does not possess YQ77? Anyways, kind of lost my place there. So we're going to grab Sam's positive tests. Sam's positive test would be this row right here. And according to Sam's positive test, there were 600 total people that tested positive by SAM77. Now, what is the probability that they do not actually possess it? Looks like 10 people in that group didn't have it, but 10 were false results because 10 actually tested negative on the real test. So it's going to be 10 out of 600. Which should be 1 over 60, which is a pretty small decimal. But anyways, 10 out of 600. And there she is, choice F. Given matrices X and Y, which of the following matrices X times Y? You know, it actually takes longer to push buttons on a calculator. I was already done with this question while I was typing the text. But that's the reality, it takes longer. But anyways, you've got one, you'd be a fool not to use it. Second matrix, edit. Matrix A has 1 row and 2 columns. It's a 1 by 2. If you screw up, don't worry. it'll look like the way it needs to look, and you can just play with your numbers. Gonna quit out, second quit, second matrix. Gonna scroll back over to edit. This time I'm gonna do B. And B has 2 rows and 1 column. It's always rows and columns. And its contents are a -2 and a -1. And then you quit. Now I'm going to do the multiplication. I'm doing matrix X times Y. So in my case, A times B. Notice I have A there, second matrix. Scroll down to B, enter, enter. And it's 2. The answer is 2. Regardless of how the graph is oriented in the standard XY coordinate plane, no graph in one of the following categories has a vertical line of symmetry. That one could bother me. But a square can always be cut in half. I mean, a square is a regular figure. So a pentagon, assuming it's a regular pentagon, can be cut in half. Of course, it's a category. A parallelogram is a rectangle, a square, whatever. Written like that, it's not, but a parallelogram can be a square. It can be a rectangle. So it can be all of it. So parallelogram's off. Now it says category, so I'm glad it says category. It says lines. This could be a line. You can cut it in half. I don't know that I can think of a scalene triangle that can be cut in half. I mean, they don't have any congruent sides. That's the deal about being scalene, no congruent sides. So I'm going with K. The equation 24x squared plus 2x equals 15 has 2 solutions. What is the greater of the 2 solutions? I've been teaching Algebra 2 for quite a while, and things get worse and worse every year, but I would say 1/2 population can't factor, or at least won't factor, and probably 20% can't or won't do the quadratic formula. Formula. So we'll just do y1, y2. We're going to put 24x squared in y1, or sorry, 24x squared plus 2x in y1, 15 in y2. So cheat. You're holding a TI-84. Cheat. And depending on your speed, it might be a quicker way to do it. Also depends on what kind of instruction you received in high school. But anyways, you do a zoom 6. You are going to have to look up because you put a 15 in y2. So go to window. To look up, we'll change the y max to something bigger than 15, maybe 20. Hit the graph key. Then we'll do second trace 5. And there are 2 answers. This is going to be the smaller one. Enter, enter, enter. And the smaller answer is -0.8333, which is not even an option here. These are all positive, aren't they? So second trace 5 again. I don't know why I wasted your time. I apologize. Get close, press enter 3 times. Enter, enter, enter. And there's the bigger answer, 0.75. So 3/4 is the correct answer. Which of the following expressions is equal to the sine of 60 times the cosine of 30 plus the cosine of 60 times the sine of 30? There is a trig identities. This can be done by hand. If you have taken, not geometry, an actual trigonometry class. But anyways, let's just assume most of you hadn't. Notice these are degrees. Put your TID4 into degree mode. So mode, mine happens to be in degrees. The default is radian, but mine's in degrees. Highlight degree, press enter. And type in the original expression, which was sine 60 degrees, close, cosine 30, close, plus cosine 60, close, sine 30. And press the magic enter key, and it returned a value of 1. Oh, I'm a little tired today. I think that's the sine of A minus B, but I might be wrong. Probably am. Let's see what the cosine of 60 minus 30 is. Nope. Let's see what the sine of 60 plus 30. Sorry, this next one's cosine. It's that one right there. I must be wanting to go somewhere with this in my head. It's going to be the... Nope. It's going to be this one. Look at J, sine of 60 plus 30. So even as tired as I am, you may have heard me slip there. My brain was saying what it was the correct answer was going to be. And it's J, just by pushing buttons. All right, what is the area in square units of a circle that has a circumference of 12 pi units? You know, there's just two formulas you're supposed to know. I swear I was taught these in about 6th grade, but the kids don't memorize them. Smiley face 2 pi r, and area is pi r squared. Circumference is twice pi r. So the circumference is known to be 12 pi. 12 pi equals 2 pi r. Isolate that radius, divide out the twice pi. If you're going to be a button pusher, make sure you wrap the denominator. Anyways, the pi's cancel. 12 over 2 is 6, and that's my radius. And that 6 goes right there. So the area of this circle is pi times a 6 squared, which is 36 pi square units. Choice D. 44, a barrel contains 25 liters of solvent mixture that is 40% solvent and 60% water. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 25 and multiply it by 0.4, and I'm going to get 10. So there's 10 liters of solvent. I hadn't read the question to you to tell you why I'm doing that, but I hadn't read it to you, but I read it. Lee will add pure solvent to the barrel without removing any of the mixture currently in the barrel, so that the new mixture will contain 50% solvent, 50% water. So let's say that I go through the adding of 2.5 solvent. Now it would contain 12.5 liters of solvent. But the barrel contains 25 plus 2.5, 27.5. This is not 50-50. All right, so I add 5. If I add 5, I have 15 liters of solvent. And the barrel contains 30 liters because 25 plus 5 is 5. This is 50-50. That's how you get the right answer. There's an algebraic equation behind this that is a little more difficult to do, but whatever. 45, I am going to cheat my way through it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just graph the original function. Or can I? It's got x and y. Ugh. To cheat my way through this one, I'm going to do numerical equivalency. I'm going to assign x a value, and I'm just going to make something up like 10. And I'm going to assign y a value, and I'll make up something like 15. All it says is they can't be the same. It says X cannot be plus or negative Y, so they're different. And I'm going to use a storage feature there. I said X was going to be 10, 10 stored to X. And Y, I can hit alpha, looks like 8 to me. Oh, that's apparently something else. Where is that Y key? There she is, alpha 1. Anyways, I'm going to assign in 15. So 15 store alpha 1. Now I'm going to type in the original expression. It was X divided by X plus Y. Again, Y was alpha 1. Plus Y divided by X minus Y. So I got a number negative 2.6. And if an answer choice is the equivalent function, it will return negative 2.6. So let's see what 1 over X minus Y is. I don't think this is going to be it, but whatever. No, not it. Let's see what X plus Y over X minus Y is. It's not going to be it, by the way. No. All right, how about X plus Y? Sitting over 2X. No. It's not going to be the next one, because the next one's what, 10 squared plus 15 squared? That's going to be a big no. But whatever. No. By elimination, it's E. But let's just check ourselves. X squared plus, it doesn't kill you to learn how to use your calculator either. Y squared, sitting pretty over X squared minus Y squared. There she is. Didn't have to know a thing about algebra. Just had to know how to plug in numbers and use a calculator. Mary, James, and Carlos sold 1/4 page advertisements for the school yearbook. Mary sold twice as many as Carlos did, and James sold 3 times as many as Mary did. What fraction of these advertisements did Carlos sell? So Carlos was the smallest. He sold the least. The strategy here is call him X. All right? Mary sold twice as many as Carlos did. So if Carlos is X, Mary is 2X. And James sold 3 times as many as Mary, so James is 6X. What fraction of his advertisements did Carlos sold? Carlos sold X out of, looks like 9X. He sold 1/9. In a window display at a flower shop, there are 3 spots for 1 plant each. To fill these 3 spots, Emily has 6 plants to select from, each of a different type. Selecting from the 6 plants, Emily can make how many possible arrangements with 1 plant in each spot? This is a basic probability problem. The first time she wants to fill a spot, she has 6 choices. The next time, since she's used a plant, she has 5 choices. And she used another plant, she has 4 choices. It's 6 times 5 times 4, which ought to be 120. All right, the next 4, I think, are all related to this graph. The quadratic function f and triangle NPQ are graphed in a standard xy coordinate plane below. Points M, which is at 2a, 5b, N, which is at 4a 9b, and P, which is at 6a 5b, are on function f. Point Q, which is 4a 0, is not. In terms of A and B, what is the area and square coordinates of triangle NPQ? So I know that the area of a triangle is 1/2 base height. So it's going to be 1/2 the base, and this is the base. The base extends from 2a to 6a. 6a minus 2a is 4a. And the height goes from 0 to 5b. So the height is just 5b. Now half of 4 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 10ab. Choice G. 49. I need to stop at 49. Point M will remain fixed, and point Q will move to the right along the x-axis. As Q continues to move right, which of the following statements describes what happens to the slope of M to Q? So if Q gets moved over to the right, maybe it gets moved right here. It looks to me like the slope is not as steep. Now, it's still downhill, so still negative. So the slope is not as steep, which means it's actually increasing. That seems weird, like you want to say it's decreasing, but it's actually increasing. It's becoming less and less negative. Now, even if you put that point way over here, it's still negative. It doesn't matter where that point goes. So the slope is slowly increasing, but it will never be positive. All right, one of the following values is equal to f of 5a. Now, this is function f. It's the quadratic. At 5a, you would be right here on the quadratic, and you would have an output of 8b. Choice K. And I'm going to stop there because I got to get ready for class I'm about to have. So there you go. Only got 10 more to go. I'll do that during my planning period.